Welcome back, guys. So today I got a pretty cool one, I think. Gonna be unboxing this Japanese Sega Saturn, taking a look at a couple games as well. So we got Christmas Nights right up in here. Pretty cool. Love this game. Love the original game as well. I remember getting Christmas Nights back in the day from Blockbuster, used for a couple bucks. It was like a promotional game. Don't remember for sure if it was a Blockbuster exclusive or not, but it was not a full game. But I really dig these manuals that come with the Japanese versions. Full color. Obviously I can't read a dang thing in there, but it's still pretty neat having them. So I have a real strong connection to the Sega Saturn. I had one growing up. I actually had one before I ever even owned a PlayStation. And there was a ton of games on the Sega Saturn that I had, and I really enjoyed playing. I remember Blazing Dragons, Fighters Mega Mix, Panzer Dragoon, Virtual Cop. The list goes on and on. There was just so many awesome games I remember playing on this system, and I'm really happy to have this system in my hands to add to my collection and start, getting a few games here and there. So here's Outrun. Like I said, this is a Japanese system, but the cool thing with these systems is you can buy an action replay and it will make your system region free essentially. There's other mods you can do. There's other programs you can add. You can play backups and stuff like that very easily with the Sega Saturn. So I got this in a trade from my buddy G Dilla. You've probably seen him in my comments, or we've done a couple videos together, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and we did play that Unholy Night garbage game on the Super Nintendo. So you've seen him on my channel, but we made a little deal. I traded him some stuff, little cash, got this Sega Saturn. So really excited to have this and to start playing some games that I remember having back in the day. So this is pretty much complete in box for the most part, it seems. I never had a Japanese version, so I couldn't tell you 100%, but it does seem like it is complete in a box. So that is the memory card, and then we also do have our connections, our audio video cable, and our power cable. Pretty nice stuff. I am going to be upgrading to, at minimum, S-Video, and using a HDMI converter. So I will be playing this for a moment on this video to check it out. Video quality is going to be okay, but it should get better once I get these other cables in. But pretty nice controller here. Everything's in pretty decent condition, I would say, especially this controller. There's going to be a little bit of age that shows. This system's over 20 years old. And with this one being the white one, we do have a little bit of yellowing, which kind of sucks, but it happens, I guess. But beside that, the system's in great condition, so I can't complain. Here's a little extra sticker for the memory card, so you can jot down your saves and whatnot. All this stuff's in Japanese, so can't really read it, but it's still kind of neat to have it. Pretty cool stuff. This just goes over the memory card, and then this, I believe, has some warnings. If you're a baby, don't be messing with this. Don't be eating the cable. Don't put your drinks on there. Don't step on it. But, this is pretty much a bunch of warnings for babies. If you're a baby, no Sega Saturn for you. What? Stay away. Pretty cool little illustrations anyway. And we do have the main system manual that just goes over pretty much, precautions, how to hook the system up, all that good stuff. And it does say for Japan only, so I don't know if this is going to open up some kind of portal to another dimension by plugging this in to my TV and playing it. But hey, we're going to risk it, see what happens. But I guess, you could play CDs, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this system. So there's the Japanese manual that probably the majority of us cannot read unless we have studied Japanese or are from Japan. But no biggie. I still like having all that stuff. Pretty cool. So here is the prize in the bottom of the box. The Sega Saturn. Like I said, this is the white-ish version, and my system does have a little bit of yellowing on it. I'm going to try to clean that up a little bit, but I'm not too hell-bent on that. I think it's fine the way it is. Everything works, so, you know, we're good with that. Put in our memory cartridge. Pretty awesome stuff. Here's our controller ports with the Sega logo in the front. Look at the back here. This is where our system save battery should be. I have removed the battery because it is dead, completely dead, beyond dead, so I need to replace that. So I'm not prompted with, you know, setting the date and time every time I boot up the system. And here's our power and component, or composite and whatnot. A bunch of connections back there so we can plug this bad boy in. So let's go ahead and check out a couple of these games, why don't we? Let's make the magic happen. Let's do this. So here we go. We just booted up the Sega Saturn with Christmas Nights. So Christmas Nights is a very unique game, I guess you would say. And that it's essentially a sampler, even though I guess some people almost look at it as its own game, but I don't really think of it as its own game because there's not very much going on with this one. It does have a couple stages, I believe, and if I remember correctly, I originally played this way back in the day when I had a Saturn, and I think it was a Blockbuster exclusive possibly in the US. I'm not 100% on that. I'm going to have to look that up. If anybody knows for sure, throw it out there. But the game's pretty cool in that, depending upon the time of year that you play it, and, you know, different things like the time or the date, the game will be a little different. So if you're playing outside of, you know, the winter holiday time, the game will be Nights Limited Edition, and it'll just look similar to the original Nights game. And between November and January, the game turns to Winter Nights, and the level is going to be covered in snow, and there's Christmas objects and whatnot. And Christmas Nights, which is the main game, everything is Christmassy, and it's pretty interesting. And then there's New Year's Nights. So when you play on New Year's, the game will just kind of be a little different. It's just kind of different themes and coats of paint to the game, essentially. So like I said, there's not a lot to it, but we will go ahead and check it out. And I believe there are presents as well that you unlock, and I think some of them might be like costumes and stuff like that. So since I've set this to, you know, the actual date, it just says Nights into Dream short version. If I would change the date to Christmas or the winter holiday, it would either be Winter Nights, Christmas Nights, you know, or New Year's Nights, depending upon what date I set. But it's still pretty cool nonetheless. I did order the original version of Nights because I do remember really, really enjoying the game. And I think, like, when this came out, the Christmas Nights little sampler, whatever you call it, I remember getting it used from Blockbuster for, like, between $3 to $5. Like, it was nothing crazy. It was a pretty cheap game. Since essentially it's not even a full game, so, hey, why not? It's a game, Japanese or the US release, it doesn't go for a ton of money. I think the US version complete in box or whatever goes for maybe like $40 or so, which is actually less than the full Nights game. So you can get the full Nights game for a reasonable price. I just got one for about $15 on eBay. Hopefully that comes through and is in as good condition as they stated it was. Even without, you know, because this game, the original Nights, there was a bundle that came with the 3D controller, which, man, I really would like to get the 3D controller, but it's pretty pricey. But most of these games you could play just fine with the standard controller. I'm using the controller that came with this system, and so far it seems pretty legit. So no complaints there. Controller feels real good. I love the 6-button layout. Definitely need to get my hands on some Capcom fighting games on this bad boy. That will be pretty awesome. I know that some of the Samurai Showdowns were released in Japan as well. on the Sega Saturn, so I might have to pick some of those up. That would be pretty sweet. Love Samurai Showdown. Boom. So this, you know, maybe I'll play this another time on a stream or something and set the date to play Christmas nights. Might have to do that at some point, but we see the system runs fine, everything sounds good. We are going to go ahead and change it on out and check out Outrun. So here we go. We got Outrun loading up. Pretty sweet. Always loved Outrun in the arcades. Never played it on the Sega Saturn. I'm not even 100% if this was released in the States or not, but this is the Japanese version. And it's all, you know, in English. Pretty basic, but still pretty cool game. Get from point A to B, you know, try not to crash. Just got to get to the end. Feels good controlling it with the included controller. There is a steering wheel that they sold that you could play this game with, but I don't know if I would even bother looking into that. If I found one on the cheap, I might grab it just to have, but not on my priority list. I think my priority list is just getting a handful of games that I had on the Sega Saturn, but not too many. I'm not going to go crazy buying Saturn games. Just maybe a handful of the Capcom fighters from Japan. They're typically a little cheaper. Doesn't matter if they're in Japanese. You know, most of the time the menus will be in English, and it's just a fighting game anyway. And maybe a handful of other games that I remember having. Like I stated earlier, Blazing Dragons would be pretty sweet. And I know there's a triple pack that I remember having that I believe had Virtual Cop and maybe Virtual Fighter 2 and one other game. I can't remember what the other game was, but I'll probably look for that just to have a handful of games. And there we go. I kind of suck at this at the moment. Game over already. Oh well, it is what it is. But I hope you guys enjoyed checking this video out. I do like getting these systems, unboxing them, sharing them with you guys. Hey, it gives me a little more material to stream. You know, at some point I'll probably do a Sega Saturn stream and start playing some games, see what we can do. I'm waiting on a few items for the system. Like I said, the Action Replay and then the S-Video cable, so I can get some better video quality out of this. Even though I'm not too disappointed with just the standard AV, looking pretty good. But with that said, guys, appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for stopping by, and I will catch y'all next time. Boom!